What's up, guys? Today we got a full speed test with the POCO X3 Pro versus the Galaxy S20 FE here. Let's do a quick size comparison. S20 definitely the lighter and thinner device, slightly smaller as well. You can see headphone jack, no headphone jack on the S20. Both have stereo speakers as well. So I do want to talk about the price of these two phones real quick, because it's kind of an interesting comparison, because the POCO is, much cheaper at 250 bucks. I have that link down below, but you can get a used refurbished S20 FE like this one for, easily 400 bucks. So let's go ahead and check out these specs. So let's go ahead and talk about these specs a little bit. So the S20 FE running Android 11, Snapdragon 865, Adreno 650, micro SD support, 128 gigs of internal storage and 6 gigs of RAM. POCO Android 11 running MIUI, Snapdragon 860, Adreno 640, micro SD support, and 128 gigs of internal storage and also 6 gigs of RAM. You can see you get a slightly better score when it comes to the single core and multi-core on the S20 FE here. Let's go ahead and launch Subway Surf here. Turn the brightness all the way up. Subway Surf. Now, one thing you will notice here, the S20 FE does have, to me, a much better display. It's a Super AMOLED versus the IPS display. Bezels are a little bit slimmer. They both have the punch hole, but this display is overall just more color accurate and more colorful, and it's also a brighter display as well. So that is something to take into consideration. You just have overall better display. Now, they both have 120 Hz, so they're both silky smooth and very fast feeling displays. S20 120 Hz, super smooth on both of these phones. Now, it feels smoother on the S20 FE as far as the YouTube. I've always noticed that. Now, when you get into other applications, they feel the same, but I don't know, like, I always thought that was strange. Pretty much a tie right there. YouTube, again. Oh, it looks like the POCO actually got that. Super smooth. Kind of a tie there. So you can see they're very well matched in terms of speed here. Again, S20 FE. Snapchat, S20, Amazon. POCO actually a little bit snappier there. Again, POCO, wow. So the POCO actually is now catching up. Actually a little bit, starting to be a little bit snappier than the S20. So it's kind of a back and forth a little bit here. And it could be the game booster. This phone does by default has game booster turned on, so I did not turn it off because yours is going to come by default. I don't really see anybody turning it off. So that was kind of a back and forth there, surprisingly. I didn't really expect the POCO to really beat the S20 in anything. Let's go ahead and open PUBG. Now, the question is, which phone is better for gaming? It's kind of a tough question to answer because they both actually just play at the same settings. They both do 120 Hz. Now, the thing is if battery life is a concern to you, and it should be for a gamer, then technically the POCO does have a little bit better battery life than the S20 FE, but to me, not by much. But if you guys see the graphics, they're kind of the same. I honestly, would go with the S20 FE. I would spend like the extra money. But again, if you have it, so there's not really a huge difference here with gaming, because as you can see, boom boom, I just prefer, like, if I'm going to be gaming, I prefer like the higher quality display, but it's not, you know, necessarily a big thing because you're getting, you know, almost $200 price slash if you go with the POCO. So, you know, if you have the extra money, I would say, you know, go for the S20 FE. But then again, yeah, I mean, so they're both pretty fast, guys. So there's really no difference to me in terms of gaming, but the displays, and you might get better battery life on the POCO here. Alright, let's go ahead and check out RAM management. Both of these have 6 gigs of RAM. S20 FE still open on Subway Surf. Still open on YouTube. They both close that out. Yeah, so it looks like the POCO is sort of behind. It looked like it closed honestly everything out in the beginning. PUBG is still open on both. Very nice. Still open on the S. So yeah, the S20 FE is definitely the better device here for multitasking. Now you might get better results if you turn Game Booster, you know, off, or if you go ahead and get the 8 gig version. If you're a heavy multitasker. Heavy multitasker, I wouldn't recommend the 6 gig version for the POCO. The S20 FE does what you would expect. It actually does a pretty good job at multitasking. Alright, so definitely that goes to the S20 there. Alright, so let's go ahead and go over the cameras. So with the S20 FE, you do have a triple camera setup. It's a 12 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel telephoto, 12 megapixel ultra wide with 4K video at 60 frames, and then you have a 32 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K at 60 frames as well. The POCO does have a quad camera setup, so the only camera this is missing is the macro lens. So the POCO has a 48 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel ultra wide, 2 megapixel macro and depth sensor, shoots in 4K 30, 20 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 1080p 30. So let's go ahead and check out those stills and see if they look like side by side. Here is the X3 Pro video. Alright guys, here's the video on the S20 FE. Alright, we got speakers at max volume here. Let's go ahead and hear which one sounds better. S20 FE. Yeah, the POCO is definitely thumping a little bit harder there. They both sound about the same volume, so I wouldn't say one is louder than the other. It's just the bass presence is a little bit stronger on the POCO. Yeah, the POCO definitely stronger bass presence. Do I have Dolby Atmos on here? Yeah, okay, it is turned on. So yeah, so the speakers to me are definitely a little bit stronger on the POCO. So that is pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.